Yo, what's goody, my people, man? Welcome back for episode 3. Man, it was a blast making episode 2 over the NFC Conference. So today on Knowing True Ball with Brian Pay, we're going to focus on the AFC, in which y'all know that's where my boys are. That's what we represent over here in this house. So, hey, guys, let's go over this this conference, man, and let's have a great time. The major news that I did want to talk about with this conference real quick is that Travis Kelce did get hurt on Tuesday. On Tuesday, man, it sucks. Obviously, I'm a Chiefs fan, so he's in doubt to play tonight, Thursday night, and we will see what the Chiefs' offense looks like. I will go over that when we get there, but that's the big news that we heard. And my predictions are based off of injuries that we know about. So obviously, if guys get hurt and things of that nature, it's going to change predictions. But first, let's focus on the AFC South. We're just going to jump right into it. I don't want to waste your time. So the AFC South, man, first we're going to start off with the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts last year, man, in the season of 2022, they went 4-12-1. They really struggled last year. Man, the offensive line did not play up to par. The defensive line did not play up to par. Darius Leonard was hurt. Jonathan Taylor could not break off because the offensive line did not play well. Matt Ryan honestly just showed that he needed to retire. But the biggest issue I have with their team actually is Michael Pittman. This is my issue with him. I think he's talented as heck, and I think he's a beast. I think he has the juice to be that guy, but we need him to take that step. We need him to jump into that number one wide receiver role. For those of you that may remember years ago, this Pittsburgh Steelers, they had the Killer Bees. So we're talking about Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown. But the fourth guy, he wasn't a B, but Smith-Schuster. People know what Smith-Schuster is now. When he was with Pittsburgh, with Antonio Brown on the other side as the number one, he was elite. Elite. They were comfortable letting go of Antonio Brown because that dude looked like he was next. That's why. I wonder, maybe is that what Michael Pittman is? Does he need a true number one on one side so that he could just do what he does on that other side, not being the number one stop guy for the defense? Maybe that's what he needs. But I think that he has the talent. I think he could be really good, and I want him to be really good. But we'll see how that goes. But we're going to focus on now this upcoming season. I got them finishing at 4-13, maybe 5-12. Man, they got a lot of offseason drama. The owner opened his mouth, so now their best player's not in camp. I'm not really going to get into that owner because I ain't going to lie, I don't care for him. I don't care for him at all, so I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to waste my time. But he ticked off his best player, and I personally think the Indianapolis Colts should trade him. We're going to focus more on their future because I think their team is not going to be very, very good. So I think that they should trade Jonathan Taylor, get what assets that you can back. I do think they could pay him. And I'm a proponent of running backs getting paid. They could pay him because their quarterback's on a rookie contract. But if you already told him that you don't want to pay him, just let him go. Let him be free. Get back assets that you could work with, maybe like a second and a fourth. You may not get a first-round pick, but take that second and a fourth. I mean, you drafted Taylor in the second round. And a lot of the elite backs in the NFL are actually second-round draft picks or lower. Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler. Obviously, right now we're talking about Jonathan Taylor. I mean, there's a lot of guys. DeAndre Swift was a second-round running back guy. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are second-round or later picks that are actually elite running backs in the NFL today. Nick Chubb, that's another one. So with that being the case, I think they should just let him go, get the assets that you can back. And then their head coach, Shane Steichen, he was the head coach there in Philly. He was offensive coordinator in Philly on their Super Bowl run. So he's used to working with a guy with Jalen Hurts' skill set. And Anthony Richardson does have a skill set. We just got to watch and see if he develops as a passer. As long as he continues developing as a passer, then he may have the potential to be really, really good. So let's take the same approach that I said with the Chicago Bears with the Indianapolis Colts. Don't pay attention to the win-loss record because they're not going to win a lot of games. Let's just watch the progression of the quarterback and the progression of the team. Let's watch how these guys get better, and then we can look into next season to see where they could go. And another team that's also very young, just like the Colts, is going to have some challenging times are the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans, man, they're being led this year by DeMeco Ryans. I'm happy he got the job. I do believe he deserved the job. But I got my own issues with the Texans, especially with these black coaches here recently. Those of you that know, you know. But hopefully they don't do that to D'Amico Ryans, and I don't think they will. But D'Amico Ryans, man, he came over for San Francisco. He was the leader of that defense. He was the defensive coordinator. Man, I like what Houston's doing. I really like what Houston's doing. I was a fan of C.J. Stroud. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback. And I think he has solid weapons. They're young. They can all grow together. Nico Collins and John Mechie III. And then they've also brought in Robert Woods, a good, solid veteran to run that room. So I think they have a nice core of guys. Their offensive line is not that bad with Lamely Tunsil leading it. And then also their running back situation isn't bad. When you have a Damian Pierce who's proven to do what he did last year, he was a good player last year. So we'll see how that goes for them. And then Devin Singletary, I do think he's a good spellback for their team. So, I mean, we'll see. Their offense should be solid. Kind of like I said about the Colts in Chicago, their offense, actually, I would say they're more like the Carolina Panthers, what I was saying. Just watch their offense progress. It's not even about just the quarterback. Watch the offense progress. And their defense has a lot of young talent on the defense. And once again, we need to watch those guys progress. So I got them finishing this year at 5-12. They were 3-14 last year. So I got them going about a 2-game improvement. But I would not be shocked also if they got up to 6 or 7 games. That would not shock me at all, because I do think if those young guys grow fast enough, I do think they have enough talent to beat some teams and take some teams down that we are not expecting. And one of the teams, though, that they're going to have a fierce battle with will be the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans, man, they're a well-coached team. That's their strength, that they're a well-coached football team. And Mike Vrabel knows what he's doing with his team. He knows the pulse. He knows his guys. And he knows what he wants to do. And he only brings in guys that fit that criteria of what he wants. So they're going to be a strong run game once again with Derrick Henry. They did bring in D-Hop that's going to help their run game while also helping their pass game, because now you can't put 8 in the box. You got to back up, because D-Hop, he will go up there. We know what he do. We know what D-Hop about. So with that being the case, man, you got to back up a little bit. Treylon Burks, I think he will take a step once he comes back and once he gets healthy. I think he'll take a step, because now there's a true wide receiver there to help him learn, grow, and fit into this offense. Robert Woods, that's a different type of wide receiver. Hopkins and Treylon Burks, they're at their skill sets, their physiques. Hopkins could be a real mentor for him. So we'll see how they grow. Their issue is going to be their quarterback, man. They just have an average quarterback, and we'll see how that goes. The defense, I think they'll be good. They'll be a good defense. They ain't going to be locked down. They ain't going to be shut down. They're going to be good. They're not going to be a weak link. So with that being the case, man, they finished last year at 7-10, but I got them finishing at 9-8 this year. So they will have a winning record, but the issue is the AFC's tough, and as we continue going about this thing, you will find out how tough this AFC truly is. And one of the teams I think they're going to struggle with the most is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Man, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they went 9-8 last year. I expect a real big leap from them this year. Why? Because they brought in Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, a lot of people forget what he was at Atlanta. He was a beast at Atlanta. He was going crazy out there before he started having his mental issues, and then he did the gamble and stuff where he was suspended all last season. But as long as he comes back and he looks the way that he looked then, in which he has looked that way in training camp, that gives Trevor Lawrence a true number one wide receiver. And now Christian Kirk can move to the spot that he's supposed to be at, and Zay Jones could also move to his proper location. And then when you throw in a guy like Evan Ingram in the middle, then you got a guy like Travis Etienne behind you, and Tank Bigsby looking like a good short yardage back, man, watch out for those boys. Watch out for that team. That offense will be one of the best offenses in the NFL, and Trevor Lawrence will be in the MVP conversation as long as he does what he's supposed to do, and he will. I do believe in Trevor Lawrence this year. Their defense is solid. Their defense is okay. They got some guys that can make some plays, but the biggest thing about them is honestly their offense. Their offense is going to be a juggernaut, and because of that, I got them going 11-6. I got them winning this division once again, just like they did last year. Repeat champions right there. And now we're going to move on to the AFC West. The AFC West, man, there's a lot of talent there, but there are teams that are very shaky. And one of them teams that are very shaky is the Las Vegas Raiders. Man, they're head coached by Josh McDaniels. I'm not the biggest fan of Josh McDaniels. I think he's overrated. I think he's just getting that Bill Belichick clout. That's all that it is. Every time we see him on a team, the team's actually gotten worse every year that he was on them. When he first went to Denver, they made the playoffs, and after that, they got worse every year. And now here he is. And last year they went 6-11. Man, I think this year they'll be lucky to go 5-12. And I actually think that after this season, they probably will trade Davante Adams. Davante Adams, man, he's a big asset for them, but I think they need to strip it down. They need to strip the team down and rebuild this thing with whoever the head coach is going to be. Because you don't have the quarterback there to do what you need to do. You got Jimmy G, but that guy, man, he only wins games if he has an elite defense. He's a game manager. He's not going to win you games. He's not going to lose you games. He's just going to manage the game, which is fair. But with that being the case, there's going to be times of struggle. Josh Jacobs will relieve that a little bit. I think their offensive line is okay. Their offensive line is solid. It's not elite, but it's not bad. It's solid. And they will have a good run game. But I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be able to use all the abilities that Davante Adams possesses. And because of that, their offense isn't going to be as efficient as it could be. And their defense is just not great. It's just not great. You got Max Crosby. Chandler Jones was a shell of himself last season, which was unfortunate. I'm a big fan of Chandler Jones. But other than that, there's nothing else on that defense to write home about. So I actually got them finishing with a record of 5-12 this year. And they're going to have a lot of rethinking to do in the offseason. And one of the teams that could make a jump, but I don't really think they will, is the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are now coached by Sean Payton. The thing is, I don't think Sean Payton and Russell Wilson will blend well together. Russell Wilson likes to move around, likes to get out the pocket, likes to improvise on plays, and Sean Payton's playbook is based on timing. That's what made Drew Brees really good. It was 1, 2, 3, step drop, get it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, step drop, get it out. And I don't think Russell Wilson has that in this game. I don't think that's the type of quarterback he is. Now, me personally, I'm kind of laughing because like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Russell Wilson. I personally don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't. And I was like, y'all bringing him over thinking that he's just going to change this franchise. That's not who he is. That's not who he is. He's a good player. He's a good player. I think he's more of a Phillip Rivers than he is a Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think he's more of a Phillip Rivers. That's what he is. The difference is he just has one Super Bowl win, and I know that. But let's be clear. The one Super Bowl win was won by the defense. He didn't have to do nothing. Percy Harvin ran back a kick return. The defense shut down the Denver Broncos. The Broncos only scored 7 points in that game. And then beast mode was beast mode. Like, that's what happened in that game. And he actually lost them a Super Bowl with that pass that Malcolm Butler picked off. So I just do not think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's a good player, but not a Hall of Famer. But when they brought him over, they paid him Hall of Famer money. They expect Hall of Fame production. And that's why they brought in Sean Payton. I think the biggest asset for both of them to try to get through this together was Jerry Jeudy. But with Jerry Jeudy being out, he's probably going to miss about the next 4 to 5 weeks. Man, that's a big deal for them. I think he was going to be taking like the Mike Thomas role from New Orleans. And they don't have another wide receiver that could do that. So there's a part of me that say give them boys some grace because they honestly, their wide receivers got hurt and they don't have the guys. They don't have the bodies for Russell Wilson to even remotely be effective out there. Now they are getting Javonte Williams back, and I do like to sign us Samaje Perine, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And their offensive line, I don't think is that great. I think they're okay, but they're not great. Now, what is great about their team is their defense. They have an elite defense, but man, that defense is going to be on the field a lot, kind of like the Saints were last year. And when you're on the field like that, you get tired faster and you give up plays. Obviously, if a team has more opportunities to score on you, they're going to score more points more times than not. So with that being the case, man, I got the Denver Broncos, man. But a slight improvement. They went 5-12 last year. I got them finishing this year at 7-10. But I do not think their offense will score enough points for them to be better than 7-10. But one team that I am not worried about scoring points is the Los Angeles Chargers. Man, last year they went 10-7. I actually just have them repeating that same record. Brandon Staley, man, He don't do it for me. He don't do it for me. I feel like he gambles too much. He goes for it on fourth down way too many times. And then when you bring in a guy like Kellen Moore, even though I do believe Justin Herbert is better than Dak Prescott, who's going to be here to take a lot of deep shots, a lot of big gains, that also puts the ball in more dangerous situations. And with that being the case, man, like you may throw more interceptions and things of that nature. And when you're throwing those interceptions, like that's just like going for it on fourth down. That was unnecessary. Austin Eckler, I think, is going to be a big part of this offense, and their wide receiver trio. I think it's talented. It just feels a lot the same to me. Like I like trios where all guys are good in different aspects of as a wide receiver, but the other guys seem too similar to me. Specifically, Johnston, and Mike Williams. I feel like they run the same route tree. You got two of the same guy. And I just liked what they had last year. I like Jordan Palmer in there as the third wide receiver, and I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I'm sorry, Carter, not Jordan Palmer. He's the tight end. But Carter, I liked him in there. Like, I thought they were solid there, so I didn't think they really hit. No, Josh Palmer. I'm sorry, that's his name. I'm so sorry. I apologize. But I liked him in there. I didn't think it was necessary for them to take Quentin Johnson, but I get it. He was the best player on the board by the time they were picking. And sometimes you just got to take that guy. But I think their offense will be elite. I think they're going to put up numbers. I think revert back to Deshaun Watson his last year in the Texans. He had one of the best QB seasons that we've seen at that time, but he did not get any MVP voting or anything like that because his team was just not good enough. I think that's going to happen to Justin Herbert as well. And the hard part about it is the defense. Man, they got names. They got names and they got talent, but Joey Bosa cannot stay healthy. And if he can't stay healthy, he's not effective for you. And the same with Khalil Mack. I'm a big fan of Khalil Mack, the Mack Daddy. I'm a big fan of his. But he keeps getting hurt as well. The linebacking core is not that good. And then I love Asante Samuel, big fan of him, Asante Samuel Jr. Of course, I'm a big fan of Derwin James. Like, he's might be the best safety in football. But their big signing in J.C. Jackson was a flop. He doesn't fit the system. He does not fit the system. It reminds me a lot of like Nnamdi Asomugha when he went to Philadelphia. He doesn't fit, and because he doesn't fit, he's not playing well. And with that being the case, man, the defense is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, and that's why I got them finishing with the same record at 10-7. The final team in this division that we're going to discuss are, of course, the Super Bowl champions themselves, the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, hey, we are who we are. We are, like, everybody knows who Patrick Mahomes is, the best quarterback in football. Wide receivers, I like the wide receivers that we got. We're solid. We're solid. Nothing great, just solid. But they do all different things. We have a guy that can make highlight plays in Kadarius Toney if he can stay healthy. That's my biggest issue with him. We got a deep threat of Marquez Valdes-Scantling. We got Sky Moore about to try to take the spot as Juju Smith-Schuster last year, working more between the numbers. And then, of course, we got Travis Kelce, the best tight end in football. Week 1 is going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging as Travis Kelce can't go out there because I think we know that he is Patrick Mahomes' security blanket. Our offensive line had a lot of shifting movement. And I don't think we got any better out the offensive line, but I don't think we got worse. I like Orlando Brown, but when you really watch the Kansas City Chiefs games, there's a lot of Patrick Mahomes evading pressure by scrambling and things of that nature. Like, our offensive line holds them up enough, but it's not like they're elite pass blockers like the Detroit Lions. You never have to watch Jared Goff scramble because those guys are just holding those men up. So with that being the case, like, I don't really think our offensive line is effective. We just can't be god awful like how we were in the Super Bowl against Tampa. I think we're average. I think we have an average offensive line. Our defense, man, we're not going to be anything until Chris Jones come back. Honestly, it's kind of that plain and simple, but we have some guys with potential. We brought over some guys in free agency that I think will help the pass rush for sure. L'Jarius Sneed, he's still here. We have a very good young secondary that should continue growing. And we have sideline-to-sideline linebackers. I'm a big fan of sideline-to-sideline linebackers. They cover a lot of sins. So with that being the case, man, I think the Chiefs are going to finish once again as top dog in the AFC West. Last year, they finished with a record of 14-3. This year, I actually have them finish with a record of 14-3 again. Moving on to the AFC East. The AFC East is probably the most anticipated division in this conference. Because, man, honestly, there could be a path that all 4 teams make the playoffs. There is a path for that. And real quick, I just got an alert about this. Just want to say Nick Bosa has now signed. He has now signed. That's a big thing for the San Francisco 49ers, and now they could go about their business. Give the man a couple weeks. He got to get back in football shape. Well, I'm pretty sure he's in shape, but just get back used to the physicality. His body got to adjust. But with him being back, they can do what I'm predicting them to do. Now going back to the AFC East, man, the AFC East, man, they're good. It's going to be a good feisty division, and but the team I think is going to finish in last is the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots finished last season at 8-9. I think they're going to finish at 8-9 again this season. They're going to have an elite defense, mainly because they're going to be put in possessions to win. Positions to win. So they're going to be put in positions to be effective. And when you got guys like Matthew Judon out there to lead the charge, they're going to be a good defense. The issue is just that I don't think they have enough talent on offense. Offense, I think they're going to be challenged. Their offensive line is okay. Stevenson, I do like Ramondre Stevenson. He's a good back. But Mac Jones, I think he's a guy that needs real playmakers around him. And I do not think they have the playmakers to complement his game. When you got guys like Juju Smith-Schuster, Devontae Parker, you also got guys like Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki has come over. I mean, they're a bunch of number twos. They're a bunch of number twos. If they were number twos on their team, they'll be very effective. But they need somebody to pop as a number one, and I don't think anybody's going to pop as a number one pass catcher on that team. And that's why I think they're going to struggle. I think they're going to struggle with putting up points and keeping possession of the football. And when you struggle with that, your defense is out there more, and that's going to make the defense not look as good as they are actually playing. So I got them finishing in last place at the division at 8-9. And one of the teams that I think, in complete contrast to them, the team that has crazy amount of talent is the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins last year finished the season at 9-8. Of course, we all know what went down with Tua Tagovailoa. This is saying that he's healthy for the whole season. Okay, that's my disclaimer for this. This is based on Tua being healthy for the whole season. If he is, I think they could finish the year at 11-6 at minimum, maybe even 13-3. 13-4. I think they're that good. They are that good. Because when you got a guy like Tyreek Hill on one side and Jalen Waddle on the other, you cannot put 8 in the box. You actually might only be able to put 6. You really need to only be putting 5. But if you go that low, you got to remember who Mike McDaniel is. Mike McDaniel was a run game coordinator. He knows how to run the ball. He knows how to manipulate your defense to get blocked, to get everyone blocked. And with that being the case with Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr., and now this young rookie, this young bull, Donovan A-Chain, man, they can hit them holes and they can fly. They can get to where they need to get to. So that offense will be elite. Now, anticipating them to have a big year, and don't be surprised if Tua is in the MVP conversation off of the year that he could have. And one team, though, I think that they will struggle with is the New York Jets. So moving to the New York Jets, last year they finished at 7-10. This year I got them going 12-5. So they do have a nice size improvement, but also they have a big improvement at the quarterback spot. As we all know, man, they brought in Aaron Rodgers. And that offense will be good. That will look like the Green Bay Packer offense when Devontae Adams was there. That's what it will look like. It's not going to be overly explosive because that's not Aaron Rodgers' game no more. He is just kind of manipulating the offense. Manipulating the defense, being efficient, getting the ball where it needs to get to, and then just taking the points as they come. He's more focused on just having his final score being higher than yours. That's all. He's fine with winning the game 17-16. He don't care. So with that being the case, I think their offense is going to be very efficient and very good. Garrett Wilson's going to have a really good season. Breece Hall, I think, will have a good season once he gets fully healthy and fully back. Dalvin Cook will be a nice compliment to Breece Hall. I do think Breece Hall should be the lead back, though. He should be the lead back, and Dalvin Cook should be his backup. And then also the offensive line, I think, will actually be better than a lot of people think it is. Think they will be. And part of the reason is because, of course, I'm saying if everyone's healthy. Part of the reason is because of how the quarterbacks play. Aaron Rodgers knows how to get rid of the ball quickly. The last preseason game that we saw where he threw the touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson, when you go back and really watch that play, that was not supposed to be a pass. That was supposed to be a run. And not even that. It's not really even an RPO. What just happened was you have your wide receiver just run a route just to clear space. But Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson have now got on the same rapport where he knows that ball might be coming. So let me make sure I'm running this route accordingly because he might be doing it. So if you watch that play, everything's moving to the right. Everything's moving to the right because it's a run play to the right. And watch Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't even turn around. He just takes 2 steps back and let that thing fly. And that's how he got the touchdown. But the point is he got it out like that. That's what changes. Zach Wilson was holding that thing. Mike White. Mike White was holding that thing. Aaron Rodgers not going to be holding it. So the offensive line is not going to be asked to block as long. He's going to get rid of the football, get the ball where it needs to be. He will adjust and make that offensive line look better. And the defense, the defense is defense, man. You got Quinn Williams, you got Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, CJ Mosley working the middle. Like, man, that defense is elite. I actually think they may be the best defense in the NFL. So with that being the case, I think those guys are going to do their thing, and I think they're going to be an elite defense. And when Aaron Rodgers only has to score 24 points to win a game, it's lights out. So that's why I have their improvement being so drastic, being at 12-5 and making the playoffs. And then the last thing we're going to talk about, I actually got them tying the same record as them, is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, man, they went 13-3. The reason why they only played 16 games, of course, was because of the whole Damar Hamlin situation. Thank God he's back. He's healthy, and he's still on the team. So hopefully he could produce for them. And let's have just a normal season because I know that's what he would love. But talking about the Buffalo Bills, the offensive line got weaker. Their offensive line is not as good as it once was, and I think that's going to be a big problem for them. A big problem for them. And when you got teams like the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins that can keep up with you, you're going to have to keep trying to score points. But the issue is I actually think the Miami Dolphins and New York Jets have better defenses than the Buffalo Bills. They're far more talented. My issue with the Buffalo Bills and their defense is that I feel like they get a lot of clout that they don't deserve. All these years that they were the number one defense in the league, you had the New England Patriots without Tom Brady. The offense was trash. You had Zach Wilson quarterback in the New York Jets. The offense was trash. And then you have Miami with Brian Flores when Tua was barely throwing for 100 yards in a game. The offense was trash. So when you're playing against guys that cannot produce on the offensive side like that, it's going to make your defensive numbers look a whole lot better. And because they look a whole lot better, people think that this defense is better than what they actually are. And not that they're bad. They just think that they're shut down. They're not shut down. The New York Jets are a better defense than the Buffalo Bills. And where that is proven is when you go against the Kansas Chiefs in the playoffs and the Kansas City Chiefs are dropping 40. When you play against the Cincinnati Bengals last year and they are dropping 40. Good defenses don't let up 40. Y'all letting up 40. When you play against a real offense, a real quarterback, they get their points. That means that you are not that defense that everybody thinks you are. And that's my biggest question mark with them. My other question mark with them also is the wide receiver 2 spot. Gabe Davis, he's talented, but I don't think he's a wide receiver 2. I think he's more like a Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He needs to be a number 3, and he just needs to be told to run deep. Run deep post. You open. If it's one-on-one, I'm going to let that thing fly. If not, I don't think he got the juice. And because of that, I think it's going to hinder their offense. Now, I do think James Cook could take a burden off of Josh Allen, but his burden that he could take off will only be so big. Once again, he's a small back, so you want to kind of control how many times he's taking the ball because he's going to be getting hit a lot, and you don't want him to get hurt. And that's my other issue for Josh Allen. I have a lot of issues with the Bills. But Josh Allen is that I feel like everything is hindered on him. And that's not good, and that's not good for his health. They're going to get that man hurt. He's going to suffer a real injury, and his career is not going to last as long as it should, as one of his talents. So with that being the case, man, I got them finishing 12-5. So they went 13-3 last year. I got them finishing 12-5 this year. So with all that being said, I actually have the Buffalo Bills tying the New York Jets for this division. And based on whatever the tiebreakers will be, will determine rather who will actually win the division. And I don't want to get into the tiebreakers right now. So now we're going to move on to the AFC North, which I actually think is going to be the best division in football, in my opinion. Man, these teams are tough. These teams are tough, and there's going to be some dogfight games. Dogfight games. And speaking of dogs, let's go ahead and talk about the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns are being led by Kevin Stefanski. I think he's on the hot seat this year. And I don't know how well him and Watson are going to mix. And with that being the case, I don't really have them doing too much better than they did last year. Last year they went 7-10. This year I got them going 8-9. And the reason why is because they're trying to switch to a spread offense, which Kevin Stefanski did not run. That's not his type of offense. He likes the I formations, the single backs, and the formations of that nature. But Deshaun Watson is a spread offense quarterback. So they are appeasing him, their quarterback, as they should. He's the one playing. Not saying that Stefanski's wrong there. But I'm saying maybe Stefanski is not the guy for that job. Maybe he's not. And maybe they need to look somewhere else. And also, like, how does that hinder Nick Chubb? How does that hinder Nick Chubb? Nick Chubb is maybe the best running back in football. But now you're putting him in the place that he's never played running back like that. I think he still will be elite because I think Nick Chubb is just that good. But I'm saying, like, you're doing a lot of changes to that offense. Now, if everything works for them, bringing in Elijah Moore, you have Amari Cooper, Nick Chubb, Donovan Peoples-Jones, a solid offensive line, man, they will be better than what I'm anticipating them to be. But I don't know what that offense is really going to be. We'll find out. And I also got questions about their defense. Because their defense, man, they're talented every year. They always have Greg Newsome. They always have Denzel Ward. They always have Myles Garrett. They always have a guy like a Deion Jones. He's not there this year, but they always have a guy like that. But they never live up to it. They never live up to it. So with that being the case, I'm not falling for their defense again. Until they show me, I'm not falling for it. And that's why I got them only having a 1-game improvement, going from 7-10 to 8-9. But the team I think is going to have the biggest jump is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, Kenny Pickett looked good. He looked good in preseason. Once again, just like we talked about in the last episode, when we talked about Jordan Love, I think Kenny Pickett is in the same boat. Do not pay attention to the stats in preseason. Pay attention to the game. Watch how he's playing. Watch the confidence level of him. Watch how the teammates are responding to him. Watch those kind of things. And these guys are looking at him like he is the guy. Like he's the guy. And when you got a guy like George Pickens as the number 1 wide receiver, and then you have a guy like a Deontay Johnson who could be a really good number 2, that you bring over at Allen Robinson III, and then you plug some holes on the offensive line a little bit, and you still got Najee Harris behind you, and Warren is a good spellback for Najee Harris, that offense could be a really good offense this year. It could be a really good offense. A lot like the New York Jets offense, I think, in the sense of like there's not going to be necessarily like crazy explosive and crazy numbers. They're not going for 30, 40-point games. They don't have to. And the reason why they don't have to is because just like the Jets, they have an elite defense. But you got guys like TJ Watt, Casey Hayward, Minka Fitzpatrick. I love to pick up a Joey Porter Jr. and guys of that nature on that defense. Man, you ain't got to do all of that. You don't have to do all of that. And all you got to do is just control the game and control what you can control. And that's what they're going to do. And I think that they will finish with a record of 11-6. Man, they went 9-8 last year. So I got them having a 2-game improvement. And I got Kenny Pickett maybe being the most improved player of the season. So then moving forward now to the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, I think, is going to be a scary team. Obviously, man, they're still being led by John Harbaugh. Man, that offense is going to be special, I think. I think it's going to be special, man. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait for Lamar Jackson to showcase how well of a passer he really is, how good of a passer he really is. And I think that offense, I mean, there's not going to be anything that you could do that's a weak spot. Because now when you bring in a guy like an OBJ, you bring in a guy like Zay Flowers, I'm not even saying OBJ got to be what he was back when he was with the New York Giants. He doesn't have to be that. If he is simply just a guy that he was with the Los Angeles Rams, I think it's a big deal for them. And I think that they're going to handle their business with him. Because now you got a guy like him and a guy like Zay Flowers together. Mark Andrews has the middle of the field wide open. And Mark Andrews might be the 3rd best tight end in the NFL. And then when you add in a guy like Lamar Jackson with his running ability, man, you can only put 6 in the box. Good luck stopping them dudes. That team is going to remind me a lot of Philly in the way of like, how do we stop them? How do we stop them? Because they can literally play this game any way we want to play it. Their defense, I'm a little bit more skeptical of their defense than most, but the biggest thing that they got going for them is that they got two linebackers that can go sideline to sideline. But the cornerback position is what scares me. With Marvin Humphrey also being out, when they're not that good on that and at the position. So we'll see how that goes. It's a big deal when you play against teams like the Cincinnati Bengals with three wide receivers, teams like Cleveland Browns who have three good wide receivers, teams like Pittsburgh who has three good wide receivers, and that's literally your division. So those boys are going to have to score 28 to 35 points a game in order to win games, I believe. But the thing is, I think they could do it. So now when you move on now to the one team, though, I think they will really struggle with is the Cincinnati Bengals. Man, the Cincinnati Bengals, I mean, they showed us what they've shown us the last 2 years. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Man, they know what they're doing on offense. They know what they're doing on offense. It's that plain and simple. Then when you bring in a guy like a Irv Smith and his athletic ability, man, that's crazy. Crazy. And then you still got Joe Mixon in the backfield. I don't think Joe Mixon is what he once was, but Joe Mixon is still a very solid and quality running back. And then the offensive line, they got better. They did get better on offensive line, bringing in Orlando Brown and the boys that they brought in. They can now move people around and get them where they need to be in their proper locations, proper positions. So, yes, I think their offense will actually be better. But the thing is, I think their defense is going to be a lot worse. And I think it's going to be a lot worse because I feel like they're just good at everything, but their secondary is not that great to me. They don't have like a shutdown corner. They don't have a corner that I'm comfortable putting in one-on-one coverage. The biggest strength of their defense that a lot of people are sleeping on, that's why we are calling this knowing true ball, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about real football, not what people watch, and that is the safeties. The safeties were the key to their defense. They had Von Bell and they had Jesse Bates. Man, when you got those guys over there, they're covering a lot of sins for those DBs, for those young DBs that are struggling. And now they're bringing in rookie replacements. Those rookie replacements are going to have to learn the ropes. You want to know how they stopped the Kansas City Chiefs? They put the safeties in the box to slow down Travis Kelce. That's how they stopped the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, when you got a safety that does not understand leverage, that does not understand the proper spot to be, and Travis Kelce, with his as a veteran, he can now manipulate that safety and get to where he needs to be. It messes up a lot of things for their defense. So I think their offense is going to have to carry the weight, and their defense is going to take a step back. Now, I mean, I got them still finishing at 13-4. Last year they finished at 12-4. Once again, they played the 16 because they were part of the Bills with the DeMar Hamlin situation. But I got them finishing 13-4 and winning the division. Also, I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, Baltimore, they finished 10-7 last year. I got them finishing 12-5 this year, second place in the division. Now that we're all done going over each division one by one, now we're going to go over the playoffs and what my predictions are saying the playoffs will be. I got Kansas City Chiefs as the number 1 seed because also at the very least, Chris Jones will be back by week 8. And by week 12, our defense will be what it's supposed to be with Chris Jones back. That's why I got them still being the number 1 seed. I think we can hold off long enough to ensure when he comes back that we're still in position to do what we need to do. The number 2 seed I actually have at the Cincinnati Bengals. I definitely do believe they are the second best team. The number 3 team, this is also the tiebreaker moment, so it could be Buffalo or the Jets, either or, and the other one will be the 5th seed. Number 4 seed I have as the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 5 seed I have as the Baltimore Ravens. And number 7 is also a tiebreaker. This is a nail-biting tiebreaker between the Miami Dolphins and the Pittsburgh Steelers. One team will be in and one team will be out. As you guys saw on my graphic, I got the Kansas City Chiefs coming out. So that means I have the Kansas City Chiefs against the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. I'm going to leave my Chiefs, honestly, just because we got Patrick Mahomes and they don't. It's that plain and simple. But just like I did in the previous episode, I will tell you the teams I do believe that can win the Super Bowl in this conference. And believe it or not, I think that 6 of these 7 teams can be Super Bowl winners. I would not be shocked. KC can win the Super Bowl. Cincinnati can win the Super Bowl. Buffalo can win it. The Jets can win it. Baltimore can win it. Miami can win it. The 2 teams that I have talked about that may not, I don't think have a chance to win it, are the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're at least a year away, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they get in over Miami. Those 2 teams I don't think have a chance, but those other 6 teams, man, I think they have a real chance to make it to the Super Bowl. A real chance. And man, with all that being said, that concludes episode 3, AFC Predictions. Man, this was dope doing these last 2 episodes. Please like, subscribe, share with your boys, talk them into liking and subscribing as well, and joining our community. Hit me in the comment box. Let's talk about all this good stuff and have a great time talking about this season. And if you feel blessed enough to do it for me, please share it on your social media pages. I got pages on Facebook, TikToks, and TikToks are going to start kicking off on Sunday. So y'all please follow Knowing True Ball on TikTok. On Sunday, we're going to be live here and there. It'll be pretty dope. And then also Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Follow that page as well. Hey guys, thank you for watching this episode. Thank you for hanging out with your boy. Hit me up in the comment box. Hey, we know True Ball. Peace.